He was born in a small village where poverty wasn't just a condition, it was a way of life. His family struggled to meet even the most basic needs. Some days, dinner was just a piece of dry bread and water. His father worked tirelessly as a laborer, and his mother did odd jobs to keep the family afloat. Yet amid all the hardship, there lived in him a quiet dream, a dream that seemed far too big for his reality. He wanted to become an officer, a person of respect and purpose, someone who could change not only his own life but also his family's fate. Every day he watched officers pass through the dusty streets of his village, their uniforms shining, their heads held high. People stood aside to salute them, and he wondered what it would take for someone like him, poor, barefoot, and unseen, to earn that same respect. That image stayed in his heart, refusing to fade even when hunger and despair tried to break him. He had no fancy school, no tutor, and often no electricity to study under. But he had something stronger: belief. He believed that poverty could cage the body, but never the mind. And so, in that small boy's heart, a seed of hope began to grow, one that would one day rise above the soil of struggle and bloom into success. Because even the poorest child can dream beyond his circumstances, as he grew older, that small spark inside him turned into an unshakable desire to change his life. He no longer wanted to live watching his parents struggle every day, counting coins and choosing between food and medicine. Deep inside, he made a silent promise to himself that one day his family would live with dignity, not desperation. That dream became his purpose, his reason to wake up each morning and keep moving forward, even when everything seemed impossible. People around him often told him to stop dreaming, to accept the life he was born into. They laughed when he spoke about becoming an officer, saying, "Boys like us are meant to serve, not lead." But he didn't let their words define his limits. Instead, every insult became fuel for his determination. He realized that dreams are not just for those who can afford comfort. They belong to anyone who dares to believe in them. He began to see education as his only way out, his weapon against poverty. Even when he had nothing, he had his dream. And that was enough. That burning desire pushed him to work harder, study longer, and hope stronger. No matter how tough life became, he reminded himself that he wasn't just fighting for a job, but for a future. A future where he could finally say, life soon began to test his determination because when your purpose is clear, even there were days when he had no money for books, nights when hunger made it hard to focus, and moments when failure felt unbearable. He faced rejection after rejection, and each time he thought he was getting closer to success, something would push him back. Friends gave up on their dreams, choosing easier paths, and people told him he was wasting his time. But even when his confidence wavered, his commitment did not. He had learned that the road to success is not smooth. It is filled with pain, loneliness, and sacrifice. He understood that every obstacle was a question life asked him. How badly do you want it was the same, and every time his answer enough to keep going. He didn't allow his circumstances to define him. Instead, he turned them into his motivation. Each hardship taught him patience, each failure built his resilience, and every challenge made him stronger. He stopped waiting for miracles and became one himself through sheer persistence. He learned that success is not about never falling. It's about getting up every single time you do. He accepted that struggle was a part of the journey, not a reason to quit, but a reason to continue. Because he knew deep down that those who endure the hardest storms are the ones who see the brightest sun. He knew that the only way to change his life was through education. It became more than just a goal. It became his escape, his weapon, and his hope. When others rested, he studied. When others doubted, he believed. There were nights when there was no light in his house, so he sat under the dim glow of a street lamp. Sometimes he worked small jobs during the day to earn just enough for his exam fees, and when exhaustion pulled him down, he reminded himself why he had started. Books became his closest friends, and knowledge became his greatest strength. He realized that education was not just about passing exams, but about empowering himself to stand tall in a world that looked down on the poor. Every page he read felt like a step forward, a silent rebellion against the limits life had set for him. He wasn't just studying to earn a title, he was studying to earn respect, for himself, for his family, and for everyone who had ever been told they couldn't rise. Above their circumstances, his faith in education gave him direction, and his belief in himself gave him power. He understood that while poverty can take away everything, it can never steal the will to learn. Because true strength begins when even the person chooses knowledge over to lose faith. His parents, seeing him struggle day after day, often told him to stop chasing dreams and look for a stable job instead. They weren't discouraging him out of doubt, but out of love. They couldn't bear to watch their son exhaust himself for a dream that seemed so far away. Sometimes their words cut deep, but he understood their pain. He knew what hunger felt like, and he knew the helplessness that came from not being able to provide. Yet, even when he stood alone, he refused to let loneliness defeat him. There were no mentors to guide him, no hand to lift him when he fell, and no one to tell him he was doing well. But that silence taught him something powerful, to rely on his own strength. He started to talk less and work more. When people doubted him, he let his actions speak. He learned that faith doesn't always need applause. Sometimes it grows strongest in solitude. He turned his isolation into motivation, his pain into power. Every lonely night became a reminder that he was walking a path few dared to walk. He realized that not everyone would understand his journey, and that was okay, because the ones who walk alone are often the ones who reach farther. As time went on, small moments of success began to appear. Little victories that quietly reminded him his efforts were not in vain. The first time he passed a minor test, he couldn't stop smiling. It wasn't just a result. It was proof that he was moving forward, even if the world didn't notice yet. When his teachers praised his hard work or his friends asked him for help with studies, he felt a spark of confidence grow within him. These small achievements didn't make headlines, but they built his belief piece by piece. He began to understand that success isn't a sudden leap. It's a series of small steps taken with consistency and courage. Every late night, every early morning, every quiet hour spent studying in silence he was destined to become. Even when progress seemed slow, he reminded himself that each step forward mattered, no matter how small. He celebrated these victories silently, not with pride, but with gratitude. They became his fuel to keep going, especially when self-doubt tried to creep in. These small wins gave him the strength to endure the waiting, the patience to keep pushing, and the hope to believe that something bigger was on the way. Because he had learned that great success is built upon countless small triumphs, each one a whisper from the universe saying, "You're getting closer.